Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the Shoveit podcast, right? The podcast of dreams. This podcast, when I started it, the point of it was a place where I could consistently put out some videos with some thoughts that I've been having. Just a thought, some ideas, things like that. I just like making videos. I like talking. I like doing this sort of stuff. Now, the problem is I just fell straight into the same problem as I was having with my YouTube videos. Overthinking, second guessing, filling myself with self-doubt, and then not doing anything. I've filmed and recorded 3 episodes since the last one, and I deleted them all for good because of those reasons just mentioned. And on the 3rd episode, because the entire episode was out of focus. Because just as I hit record, I fucking did something to the lens and I toggled the auto manual switch on the side of my 24-70 lens. So I couldn't see it because it was the other side of the room. So when I went to look at it, I was like, oh, that's out of focus. Useless. Just delete it all. Good job I don't do this for a living. So that was kind of interesting and mildly frustrating, but we are where we are, and this is a new episode. Now, I wanted to talk about social media in this episode, all right? Or just a thought that's been racking through my head for a while, like a rationale. I can't really work out how to make a visual version of it just yet. I'd like to work on that, but I just want to throw an idea past you. See what you think.
Yeah, you better.
It's about social media and our relationship with it, because I think we all as a society, we all need our heads checked, to be brutally honest, but we just need a reality check about what we're doing. Because sometimes I get into conversations with people, or I see what people are putting on social media and the things that we're doing, and I'm like, we've all fucking got this really confused. And it becomes even more noticeable when you're someone like me putting stuff like this onto the interwebs, and then other people give you feedback or opinions, and you're like, thanks, appreciate it, all the best. And it opens up this constant battle with community versus just leaving the fuck alone to make what I want to make, right? There's this funny little balance. And I think it's a really interesting place at the moment, because you've got art and then you've got content. All right? Oh, don't want to talk about the content side just yet. That's a whole other fucking kettle of fish, right? We'll get into that in maybe the next episode. All right? Let's just deal with this right now. This is my brain. This is why these things don't go anywhere. Dylan, concentrate on the social media relationship side of things. So if you look at things like radio or television or paintings in an art gallery or newspapers and magazines, traditional media, traditional art, all that sort of stuff, right? There were people that made it and there were people that consumed it. Creators, consumers. Very, very simple, all right? 2 types of people. The creators made, the consumers consumed. The consumers maybe had their opinions, but generally there wasn't like a open forum for them to tell the creators what they think of the content. Also, the ability for those consumers to have a bash at what the creative people are doing, that really wasn't there either. So look at a film, look at a movie. You go into the cinema and you go to watch Transformers. How often do you find yourself walking out of the cinema after any movie, by the way, and going, that was a load of shit. I hated the bit where this happened. And then maybe the person with you argues, maybe they agree. Maybe you're like, oh, fuck, I can't believe he made them do this. I can't believe Michael Bay blew up that. I would never have done that. We all have our opinions. That's okay. We're free-spirited animals. That's what we're allowed to do. But at no point, unless you have a lot of determination to get your point heard, you don't really have a forum where you can just pick up the phone, get on the blower to Michael Bay. Michael, didn't like the 3rd act, buddy. Load of shit. And he's like this, oh, fuck, can't believe it. All that money, all that time to make that movie. And Steve from Limavady doesn't fucking like it, That doesn't exist. In the same way with it, like if you look at art, you go into a gallery and some people love art, some people don't. We're all have different opinions. It's very subjective as to what I think and what you think. What do you like? What do I like? But again, we can't like leave a little note and just blue tack it to the bit of art. Dear Picasso. I mean, he's dead, so that's not a great example. But like, think about a modern artist. Well, not even a modern artist, because we're going back like 20 years. Dear artist, dog shit. Do not like your rendition of this piece. Don't like the way you've drawn the eyes of this character. Just wanted you to know, get fucked. All right? That doesn't happen. It never happened. So people created. I mean, look, maybe at one hand that's good, and maybe there's bad to that as well, because creative people just blindly fucking make stuff. Hey, here's a thing, and then people are like, that's shit. The only time I can really think of that stuff is like reviews. Someone goes and watches a play, and there's a review in a newspaper, and then they're like, oh, I'm gutted that those 10 people that came and reviewed my thing, those critics, they had an opinion. But those people are professional critics. Whereas now, we're all critics. All of us. Constantly. We all have opinions. All right? So, when you start to think about that, you go to the cinema, you watch a movie, you don't like it, you blab to your mates, that was shite, this was good, whatever it is. Maybe, you said to someone in the street, you should watch the new Michael Bay film, but the last bit's dog shit. But we don't have the process, the ability to just tell him it's dog shit. So fast forward to now, and you've got loads of people who are making stuff on the interwebs, and then you've got loads of people consuming it who have opinions, and they have this platform now when they can just tell you they don't like something, or they do like something, or you could have done it differently. Dill, I don't like the way you lit that podcast. I don't like the way you used that mic. Oh, have you tried this, all this, right? What are we talking about here? Oh, yeah, relationships. So then you got to look at something like the way in which we use our social medias and our relationship as users with it, okay? I think what makes it all weird is that we as consumers, okay, just to clarify one thing, you've got the consumer was there, and you've got the creator, and then in the middle now, right, you had a prosumer. Now, you had prosumers back in the day. There's just a lot of them now. They're everywhere. I'm a prosumer. I create and I consume. And in the middle, I'm a prosumer. All right? Now, there's most of us, well, a large portion of us are prosumers, I guess, right now. Weirdly, I do also meet people who don't even fucking use social media, which blows my mind. And also fair play to those people, because what bliss that must be. But we understood that relationship. We as a consumer understood our relationship with whatever we were watching. We understood our relationship with a narrative or a story, or what was fiction and what was non-fiction. What was scientific information or historical information, and what was a made-up story to entertain us. We didn't feel like we had to dissect things to the extent that we do now. Well, first off, we didn't have the platform, the space to say it to those people. And we also didn't have the function, the form, the platforms to make our own versions. That combination, that's confused everyone. That's confused us all. It's confused me, all right? Because now everyone can make. And I think lockdown just exasperated that. It just increased the amount of, because everyone was sitting home bored off their tits, and then they were like, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll make something. And that combination with things like fucking TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts and the rise of vertical video, all right, this weird love it and hate it sort of format, all of that stuff has made this entire relationship with social media and creation and content and all that very, very confusing. Now, I've been doing vertical video for quite a long time, since Instagram launched Instagram Stories. And there was a lot of traditional old farts out there who were like, oh, video should only be horizontal. Right, okay, I get it, all right? Understand that. But I always liked the vertical platform. And I personally felt like the best use of a vertical platform was in vlogs, because the vertical form in the phone in your hand when you're holding it like that, first off, requires one hand, okay? That feels like a lot of effort to have to turn your phone around, because now you have two hands holding it, and now you're struggling to balance it, and your thumbs are in the way. Well, that just sits nicely in your hand, right? It gives you carpal tunnel syndrome. So it's great. It's really good for us. But it's very intimate. It's a very intimate way of digesting content. It's full screen. It's immersive. It's in your face. And I think it's quite nice for vlogs, which is why I loved Instagram stories early on. And when IGTV came, I thought, this is great. This will be class. And then they made it go horizontal and they fucked it and that died a death. Then TikTok arrived and it just flipped everything on its head. And I know there's a lot of people that love TikTok. I hate it. And I hate Reels, even though I do sort of take part in the game. Like, I add to the shit show while also completely hating the shit show because elements of it interest me. But I think the problem is that everyone does it, right? Well, I think there's a point to what I'm saying here. But basically, lockdown, TikTok, all that sort of stuff, everybody was now like given this software, this ability to make their own videos and post them on the internet for everybody else to see. That is incredible. That opens up avenues and opportunities for so many really talented people to make stuff and share stories in whatever format they want, whether it's animation or freaking scribbles or written work or talking or monologues or creative videos or stories or document, whatever, right? Whatever you want to do. If you want to dance in the fucking street. But that's what it did. It opened up, and so many talented people were given opportunities, or at least the idea of an opportunity to do that. But it also flooded the social networks with dog shit. Just every fucker making content. Everyone be like, oh, I can do this. I'm going to have a little bash at this. And now we're all just making content, all right? So early days of social media, our relationship with like Facebook, like go to Bebo or MySpace and all that sort of stuff. It was a very small, closed community. Look at the story of Facebook and how it started. It was about people you knew and friends and people you interact with in real life in this little small community. Now it's like, oh, I can reach the world. I can reach everybody in the fucking globe with my social media. So here's my stuff, right? And the problem with that is that everybody jumping on, everyone creating it has confused that idea, of like, what are we doing? Why am I doing it? Do you need to be doing it? Can we all just please stop? There's way too much of this going on. Because now everyone feels like they're a prosumer. So you've got people who maybe like have an opinion on something. And I'm going to fucking put this on my Instagram. I'm going to fucking write about this. I'm going to tweet this shit out. And you're like, nah, don't worry about it. Knock it on the head. You don't need to. You've got 30 followers. Don't worry about it. Just, And then you've got other people who are making it their goal and their drive and ambition to get famous on social media. Influencers, that entire rise of influencers. And again, another great topic, which we'll talk about at a later date, good and bad, right? But people are now making it their goal to do this. And I think that the barrier for entry has just dropped to any old shit'll do. And a good example of that is a recent trend that I am seeing on Instagram Reels, but it's come from TikTok right now. Apparently, it was started by a girl called Ava Williams. She was on a train from Connecticut to New York, something like that, and she decided she was bored and wanted to make a video on the train in the style of a Wes Anderson film, right? So if you're not familiar with Wes Anderson, I'm sure you've heard the name thrown about. But he's a filmmaker from the United States, right? He has a very distinctive style in his music, in his titling and typography on screen. A lot of people chat about Futura, the font he uses on that. He's got a very particular, like, symmetrical style in the way he shoots wide shots and close-up shots. They're kind of awkward and uncomfortable and beautifully composed. And he uses very distinct, very deliberate color palettes that are like high saturation, bright, vibrant color. Anyway, he made Royal Tenenbaums, if you've ever watched that, or Fantastic Mr. Fox. There's a whole whack of other ones, right? Google him. So this girl, Ava Williams, decided she made this vertical video in that style. She just took elements of it and, put this video together, sort of music, all that sort of shit. It was very good. It was grand. She's on a train. She's sitting there. She's kicking back, right? Cool. No problem with that. She's taken a filmmaker, a director, a producer, whatever person you look at for inspiration, and she's emulated the style for a bit of fun on social media. Great. No issue with that. The problem was the onslaught afterwards. Everybody else who made it. Because everyone sees it and they go, oh, that's fun. I like that. That's cool. I'll have a bash myself. So everyone opens up their app and they just fucking grab the sound. They use this fucking template and they just make their version of it. And it's not a version. It's just the same thing, but with them in it. And, that gets old pretty quick. And I was scrolling through Instagram going, fucking hell. Is this all we are now? Is it just a world of copycats? Is it just like, where does, when does it become theft? When is it just blatant plagiarism? And I'm not talking about her copying Wes Anderson. She's paying homage to him and doing that sort of, right? It's everybody else who's like, I'll fucking make that. You don't need, Susan, you don't need to fucking make that. Just watch Ava Williams ones or go and watch a Wes Anderson. If you are going to do it, at least put a spin on it. Make it your own. Do something to it. Give it a plot twist. Anything. And it's because so many people making these things now are just people who are having a bash at it. We're just like, because we have access to it when we really shouldn't be. And I think it's confused it. It's made everyone think, oh, well, I can create because the platform's there, the ability to do it, the tools and software to make these things are there. So why don't I do it? And you're like, well, why do it? Ask that question. What are you bringing to the table? It highlighted it really for me, like, because what you start to see is just the amount that we copy and paste, and there's no originality in it. And I watched it for days, and I was like, oh my God, can everyone please? So anyway, I decided that day on the way to the pub, I'm like, I am gonna make my version of it, because I can. Why fucking not? So I just did it in exactly the same style as every other fucker was doing it, exactly the same way, just lazy ass shots. High saturation, weird color palette, just static shots of me standing at the bar with the text was something like, you better not be adding to this bullshit. Broke out a character at the end, and then the idea was just like, please, can we stop with the Wes Anderson thing? It's enough. Some people got it. Some people watched it to the end and they appreciated that it was a illusion. It was a clickbait to me. It was me following the trend in order to tell people to stop following the trend, right? Look, the world didn't watch it. Some people saw it. That's all that happened. And I did it, I guess, out of a little bit of annoyance at everybody for just fucking being lazy and making shit content. But it's, I feel this has become a rant. This has become well, it is a little bit, I guess. It's like, it's because we're all now making the stuff. And somebody put something on the internet and they were like, oh, I'll just copy that and do my version. And it belittles all the content that's being made. It dilutes everything. It loses the original source. Trying to find the original people to make this sort of stuff. And then someone makes an original piece and people sample it. I don't mind sampling, but there'll be a group of people, I'd say they'd probably sway more to the creative world, who resample something in their own way, put their own spin on it, their own twist. And then there's just everybody, all the people, just all making shit. We're all making content and we're just copying it. And, fair play. It's great. I got no problem with you doing it. Pop it in a WhatsApp group, send it to your mates. But we're all putting it on the internet. We're all clogging up the internet with this nonsense constantly. And I'm not sure it's healthy, is the issue. It's a really weird relationship with it, because we are no longer just people that come on and consume it. We now feel that we can consume it, and we can have a bash at creating it. So now we can also criticize it and give opinions on it and give alternatives on it. Yeah, so we're all just creating content. And just to bring it back to this relationship thing that I'm saying is, it used to be so simple. We watched stuff that was made by people that had creative ideas or original ideas or stories to tell or whatever that is, and we consumed that, we had our opinions, we kept it to ourselves. And now that those lines have crossed, they've merged in muddy waters, as they say. We don't know if we're fucking watching or making. I know for me, as a creative prosumer, things pop up and I'm like, oh, should I make a video out of this? And I'm trying to be like, do I need to? Should I delete it? Like this podcast, does it need to be made? I don't fucking know. But I personally feel like I sit on the creative side of that thing. And I think I always have sat on that side of it. And I think that my understanding of what I'm watching and consuming is very clear to me. Like I know when my opinion is valid on someone else's work, if someone asks me for it. And if you think about something like how that affects us and our ability to understand what we're consuming, I think this is where it gets dangerous, because everybody has the ability to make and post and share. Then now we're confused as to what we're consuming. Like, what are we watching? What are we taking in? What is real? What is fiction? If you go back, like when I was young, I watched Friends. At no point did I ever think Friends was real. Like I knew it was a TV show. I understood it was a TV show. So I turn it on, I'd watch it, I'd laugh, you'd cry, whatever. That's not the clap. You'd do whatever. You'd watch the show and you'd be like, that's hilarious. I watched the UK Office when it came out. And if you watched that when it was first launched, you'd have been like me. You'd have been sitting there cringing at how uncomfortably awkward it was. And it's incredible. It's great storytelling. It's great creativity. It's a very obvious relationship with what you're watching. You know that you're consuming something that has been made for your entertainment. But on social media, that's not that clear. And I know that from like pretty much the majority of stuff that I put on my Instagram or YouTube, I would say is generally tongue-in-cheek. There's some opinion of what I think and the way I do stuff, but a lot of the time I'll put stuff up there that's a bit of a piss take. And I'll have people responding to me like with an actual response to something, or thinking that like there's maybe a bigger problem, a bigger issue. I put a video out on YouTube the other day called The Problem with People. And I had a lot of people DM me and message me about it and chat to me about it. Really, really interesting. Some people commenting on YouTube, but a lot of people just contact me privately and conversing over it. And it was quite interesting because that topic dealt with the idea of feeling anxiety, I guess, in public and filming and talking to camera and stuff. Because it's very different when you're outside in public trying to film and talk as it is inside a studio. Very, very easy inside a studio. And I've just felt a lot more anxious in those environments. But I also don't think it's a huge issue for me. I know other people will struggle with that, but I don't think I deal with that. But what I do find interesting is putting that story out there to share with other people in case somebody else is feeling similar. And they just need to know that it's all right, chum. We're all feeling it to an extent. So take a deep breath and rest assured that we're all in it together in a way. But like a couple of people messaged me to be like, are you okay? Hey man, I watched your YouTube video. Are you all right? Like, it seems like you are quite struggling there. And I'm like, yes. It was all 100% honest, but I'm all right. Like, I'm okay. I made this for other people. I made it to, I mean, not to entertain, but I guess to entertain or educate or inform other people, because that's what I like to do. I like to make these videos for other people's entertainment, for other people's enjoyment, to kill time for other people, that kind of thing, because I see myself as a creator in this relationship. But it's the wall's broken down, so people don't actually know sometimes on social media whether what we're consuming is being curated for them or is totally real or is fake or is like, it's fucking really weird. And I know if you're somebody like me who makes stuff on the internet, you will also have these interactions with people on a daily basis. A good example is I ride a one wheel around the town, right? And I ride it without a helmet on. And there's a lot of people in a one wheel community who would never ride a one wheel without a helmet. But the same can be said for cyclists. If I go on a road bicycle, I'll wear a helmet. If I'm riding down the street to shop, I don't wear a helmet. And I'll have people who'll message me because I'm maybe doing a story or something to tell me like all the reasons why I should have a helmet on or all the reasons why what I'm doing is dangerous. And I had good chat with someone about a year ago who questioned me on the one wheel thing, and they were like, that's really dangerous, you should have a helmet on. And I was like, why? And they're like, in case you fall and bang your head. And I'm like, right, I understand that, but you could be walking to the shop and trip, just getting milk, and bang your head. So do I need to wear a helmet going to the shop to get milk? And they're like, oh, don't be so stupid. I was like, no, but it's not about being stupid now. It's about risk assessment. It's about understanding your own risk. It's about, we all make a risk assessment. I always teach my kids, I'm like, calculate a risk. That's all you need to do. You want to take a risk, that's fine, but work it out first. Don't just fucking barge in like a madman. I've calculated the risk in something that I'm doing like that, and I know that my ability, doing the sports that I've done for as long as I've done, I feel pretty confident. I don't really push myself on a bike or a one wheel or a surfboard or anything like that to a point where like I'm in danger. So if I do fall and hurt myself, it's going to be bad luck, unlucky, right? But that can happen doing anything. You can be sitting on the toilet doing a shit and squeeze too hard and fucking pop a disc out of your back. What are you supposed to do? Wear a back restraint when you go for a dump. Associated risk. But the problem there is that it's people are watching something and they think, that fucking lunatic has just gone out on that one wheel of that bike like a maniac. Look at him. And you're like, no. This was all calculated risk to make a video to entertain you. So like I'll do shots sometimes where I set the camera up in different places and I'll maybe walk past it or ride past it or whatever that is. And people are like people watch it and they want to dissect it. They want to ask you like, why, how, where did you do that? Does someone not steal your camera? Is that not dangerous to do that? I can't believe you just ride about. Or like people like, I don't know how you just leave your camera lying on the road in the middle of the city. And I'm like, guys, when you watch Friends, do you be like, I can't believe they just had a camera across that street while they walked into that building? Obviously, I'm comparing my Instagram stories here to probably one of the most popular television shows ever. But what I'm trying to say is that it's curated, all right? It's curated by creators for the consumption of consumers for entertainment or information or education purposes, whatever that is. That it used to be a very clear line, and now it's kind of not, is it? Like it's weird. Sometimes you're watching something and you're like, is this person for real? But then also you watch some people and you're like, oh my God, they are for real. And they're making, and now what it's also doing is pushing people to put stuff out on the internet in styles or ways or demeanors that is maybe worrying or concerning or a bit odd, but not on a consciously curated way. Like it's just them putting themselves out there. And that's because you've got people going, oh, just get out there and tell your story. Be real, be authentic, be yourself. And it's like, that's fine. But some of us shouldn't record that and put that on the internet for our own safety and the safety of those around us. And I think it's got this really weird place where like we all feel like we all have to be making content and putting it on the internet to show people, whether we have 200,000 subscribers or whether we have 100 followers on Instagram. We're all constantly making stuff and putting it up and sharing these stories and sometimes it's bullshit. Sometimes you can see people just making stuff up or polishing a turd. That might be your content. Do that in the Wes Anderson style. See how it goes down. But I mean, taking something really shit and just trying to make it seem good, because our reality is actually kind of a bit dull when we're brutally honest. And I think, again, that's confusing because people who are just normal people who just use social media to keep up with their friends and family, they see all this other stuff online and a lot of it's curated. You got to remember, people are making this for your entertainment. That's not real life. It's a version of it. I try to say that to people when they talk to me on Instagram. Like, the stuff I put on my Instagram it's very authentic to me, but it's a small window. It's very curated part of my life that I enjoy making videos and stories about. And those bits are thought about before they're just fucked onto the internet, apart from the podcast, which is just the ramblings of a madman, okay? But we really all need to just simmer down, everybody calm ourselves, and just look at what we're doing. But most of us just don't need to be on social media posting our shit every single day. Or if we do, we need better private groups where we just do it to our friends, okay? And I mean, that's not even delving into the fact that now everyone's a social media expert as well, because they fucking got a video that went viral on TikTok, so now they obviously know the ins and outs of an industry. Another video, that again could just become a rant, so we'll not bother doing that for now. But I just think it's a really interesting thing, and I've been sitting looking at it a lot recently and thinking about it, and like talking to people and being like, just look at what's happening here. Look at the way we're using it. I know the way, like with my kids, the way they respond and they do stuff. They've said things to me where they've done something and they're like, that should be a video. And I'm like, fuck, yeah, it could be a video, but does it need to be do we need to? No. And there's a lot, like my private life, I don't really put on the internet that much, bits of it every now and then. Great example is my wife never posts anything. You know what the assumption is from people? That she doesn't do anything because she doesn't post it on the internet. She always says to me, like, I feel like every day when I go to the gym or go for a walk or go to the shops or go do something, or we go out for lunch or coffee anymore, that I feel like I need to take a photograph of this and post it on my Instagram so that people know, oh, she is actually doing something every day. Because there's this vibe where it's not on the internet. You haven't posted on social media. You mustn't have done anything. You must have just lay in your underground burrow and not spoken to anyone all day, which sounds fucking great, to be honest. Maybe that's what we should all be doing. I watched a reel, admittedly, the other day with an interview with Dylan Moran, the comedian from Black Books, if you ever watched that show. And he said, they were asking him, like, what does he think of the internet? And he thinks the internet's ruined the world. And I was like, yep, I agree, 100%. If someone said to me, okay, we're going to delete the internet, you won't be able to do any of this stuff that you're doing right now, and you'll just have to go work a little job, working for the council, cutting the hedges. I'd be like, fucking give me that, but delete the internet for everyone, because it's a cesspit of shit. And I know that there's a bit of irony that comes with this, because this is a video you're watching on the internet or a podcast that you're listening to about the internet. The problem with it is us. We are the issue here, not it. Us, our involvement in it, and our inability to be trusted. Is that a sentence? Just a bit of food for thought. How are we using social media? How are we using content? What is our relationship with it? Do we understand? Are we comfortable with it? Is it enhancing our lives or hindering our lives? Because like, I'm on the fucking fence. Some days I'm like, this is great. And then there's other days I'm like, delete the internet. There you go. There's half an hour of your day gone. You'll never get that back. Maybe you did it. Maybe it killed some time where you were doing something boring. Maybe you were driving somewhere really fucking dull and you were like, thanks Dylan, appreciate that. Gonna crack on with my life now. If you sat through this on a television, hopefully it's been a rainy Sunday morning and you aren't going, fucking wasted my time there, chief. But there you go, ramblings of a madman on a podcast that sometimes comes out, okay? I appreciate you listening or watching. Go and look at the other videos on my YouTube channel, because some of them are better than this stuff. But I enjoy making it, and I feel a bit better for getting this off my chest. Let me know what you think, all right? Don't give me your opinions on my video, all right? Just give me your opinions on the world of social media, or don't. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Oh yeah, also, I'm going to get some guests on this podcast, so it's not just me rambling like a fucking lunatic all the time. I've already recorded one. It hasn't been deleted. It's coming soon. Stop.